Hello and welcome guys to another episode of CVR POV. In this episode we're going to be looking at, is this tiny little budget air compressor suitable for painting a car at home? So probably really useful for if you're a DIYer wanting to start a little spray setup at home, but also perhaps very useful for maybe a professional that might want to have a little spray setup in the back of a van for their business needs. I've never painted with a compressor this small, so I had no idea as I was doing it what the outcome would be. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. An air compressor is quite simply a hollow tank with a motor usually on the top. Once the motor fires up, it pulls air into the tank and then you get compressed air that you can spray down the connected air line. The motor will shut off once the tank is full. It will only start back up again once enough of the stored air is released via an airline tool. The general rule is the bigger the tank usually means more air can be stored, therefore more air is available to be used, allowing the compressor to run effectively without its motor. In relation to that, the bigger the motor, the quicker the tank will fill until the tank is full and the motor shuts off. So with all that in mind, the quicker the tool uses stored air from the compressor's tank, the sooner and more often the motor has to replenish that air. If the air tool is running continuously and it uses more air than can be stored and replenished by the tank and motor combination, then you will experience a pressure drop. So in this test, I need to find out, can this little compressor keep up with the spray gun output enough for me to paint this car bumper? I've got this car in my workshop and it came in with some damage on the front bumper corner, so we're going to be painting half of the bumper with this spray gun setup that I'm going to be demonstrating. It's a real job on a real car, so obviously things can and often do go wrong. So this is the bumper corner, what I've just prepped up, ready for painting. I've used an electric sander to sand this down because one of the limitations of having a really small compressor is if you've got any air tools, random orbitals or anything like that, especially the 150mm ones that I'd normally use to sand these damaged areas down, or wheels, it's probably going to struggle with that. Which isn't so much of a problem nowadays because we've got a lot of battery powered stuff that's really good at doing exactly the same job. So we're not heavily reliant on just using air tools all the time. So that's sort of something that's changed over the last 10 years since I've been doing work on cars. So this is going to be primarily for the painting side of this repair. So here she is. This is a Hyundai, obviously super silent oil-free compressor. So I'm just very quickly going to go over the statistics of what this machine is and what it can do with regards to air consumption and all that kind of thing. Alright then, let's quickly go over the specifications. So I'm reading the description off here. It's a Hyundai 24 litre air compressor, 5.2 CFM. 100 psi, silenced, oil-free, 750 watt, 230 volt direct drive, 150 litres per minute, low noise air compressor, 2-year warranty. So it's a very small compressor. It's very compact. It will fit in nicely wherever you need it to be. I've just put it inside my desk, which is on wheels, my workbench, and I just push it around, and it's ideal for me just to do basic little jobs that don't require loads of air pressure for a long period of time. So I've been using it to power air guns, general maintenance work around the workshop where I need to blow off loads of dust or anything I've been doing that's made a mess, and also it's been pumping up car tyres and the general stuff around the workshop that you might need it for. So it's ideal for that. But what we're going to be looking at today is, can this spray a bumper corner? That's what I want to know. Is it powerful enough? Will it do the job? That's what we're going to be looking at. So the gun I'm going to be using is the Anest Iwata LPH 80 spot repair gun. This probably is my favourite gun of all time. I've always owned at least one of these since I started spraying all them years ago. It's the same gun my trainer told me to get. I have used loads of other guns since, but for the money, for the versatility and the general finish, robustness, you never need to replace any parts on them hardly. It's absolutely fantastic all-round gun. So let me just very quickly run over a couple of the specs. The LPH80 HVLP centre post gravity feed spray gun is ideal for large backgrounds, spot repair, blending, shading and touch up. Spray patterns ranging from 1.6 inch round pattern to a full 5.5 inch fan pattern. Low operating air pressure and low 1.8 CFM allow the LPH80 to be run with a small air compressor, perfect for mobile repair, which I can vouch for. These are great for on the road, and hopefully that little guy over there is going to be powerful enough to run one of these so that we can paint this. So I've got some of the colour mixed up here. It's Volkswagen Urano Urano grey. That's ready to go. So I'm just going to use this paint strainer. It's got some mesh at the bottom of the strainer, just so any bits that might be in the paint will get caught in there. Just going to get our gun, just like that. I'm just going to pour it in. The first thing I'm going to do before I start applying some of the paint is I'm just going to use the gun just on a little bit of a trigger, not fully, so it sprays the paint out, so it just blows air out. And we're just going to give it the whole area tack cloth, make sure no bits are stuck to it, make sure it's nice and clean before we start spraying. So I've got my mask on, I've got my gun all ready to go with some base coat in it, so let's start spraying. What we're looking to do here is lay a very light coat of paint just over the primer, just to get a bit of a first layer down. So you'll probably find, if you're putting the right amount of paint on that you should be, is that you won't be using much air consumption. So the compressor didn't actually kick in while I was doing this, it used the air that was kept within the tank. A few minutes later we're applying the second coat, a bit more of a fuller coat, and because we've already used some of the compressed air that was stored in the tank without the motor, I'm expecting the motor to kick in during this coat. There we go, that's the compressor kicking in for the first time. We're on a second coat. It obviously needs to replenish the air that we've just sprayed out via the spray gun. I'm just going to give this area, including around the other side of the bumper corner, what you can't see, I'm going to give it a tack off with a tack cloth. There's a little bit of sort of base coat overspray that's gone over there, what I don't want on there, so I'm just going to give that a wipe down. This has been left about 5 minutes and it's dry enough to start rubbing the tack cloth around the area. I'm going to go in now with the third and final coat, and we're just going to flick it away a little bit, so we're probably going to be using a bit more air this time, and hopefully that should be enough of the base coat. I think at this point there's something really important to mention, and that's basically that because there's a gap between each coat and the job isn't that big, it gives the tank enough time for the motor to kick in and replenish the air. And then when we start spraying again, we're using a full tank again. So while that base coat is drying, I've cleaned out this gun. Normally, if you was doing it regularly, like I used to, you'd have at least 2 of these guns ready to go. So one for clear, one for your base coat, but for today's purposes, I'm just going to use one gun. You'll probably only end up buying one gun perhaps, so I'll just show you that you can just have one gun, it's absolutely fine. Just make sure you clean it out thoroughly in between jobs. I'm using some 2K clear today. This one's from Pro XL. It's one that I've used a lot, really like it, but there's loads on the market. You use what you can get hold of and whatever you want to use. I do like this one, it dries fast and it leaves a lovely glossy finish. I've mixed it at a ratio like it says on the tin of 2 to 1, so 2 parts lacquer, 1 part hardener. So that will be our clear coat, varnish, whatever you call it, lacquer that goes over the top of the base coat and makes it shiny, durable and finished. Bumper is prepared and painted with base coat colour to match the car. So now we're going to see if we can clear coat it with this little compressor, see if it can keep up. We're going to be spraying for longer, so it's going to be putting the compressor under more strain. So let's see how we go on. Of course, with painting, like anything, everyone's got their own methods. What I like to do with the first layer is I like to make sure there's a bit of a half decent layer of clear coat over anywhere that I put the base coat, not so much in the areas where the base coat's not gone, where it would be clear on clear. I just find that works for me, so that's what I'm doing in this stage. We're going to be doing another coat after this one, a more full coat. That's the first layer of clear coat down. I've just pushed the heat lamp towards the job a little bit more, not to dry it, but just have a little bit of heat around the area, not too close. The compressor's kicked in, that's refilling with air, so everything's going according to plan at the moment. So I've just done the tack test, just making sure the masking tape's tacky. So we're ready for the second layer of clear coat. This is the second coat, this is the final coat, so it's going to be a nice full coat, good coverage. Make sure all your repair area has now been clear coated, so it's nice and shiny and it's got good gloss levels all over everywhere that we need to paint. It was at this stage that I was most concerned about the compressor tank being emptied, because we're doing a full coverage over a larger space, and the motor kicking in and potentially receiving some kind of pressure drop which would affect the gun and the spraying, how I'm doing it. At that point we'd be fully at the mercy of the motor being able to keep up with the spray output as it tries to replenish the tank. That, a second ago, you just heard the motor kicking in to replenish the tank of air. But we're pretty much 90% the way through the repair, so I think we've just about accomplished it. Obviously that doesn't mean you have to stop spraying or anything, you just carry on what you were doing. It just means that you might feel that there's not as much product coming out in exactly the same way as it was a second ago, so you perhaps have to slightly adjust how you spray it. So let's have a look at how she's come out. And to be honest with you, I am very impressed with the compressor especially. I'm also impressed with the clear coat I've just used, and I'm quite impressed with the finish that I've just got for saying I've not sprayed for about 6 months. But yeah, it worked. It's not quite finished, so stay tuned, keep watching the video. I'm just going to bake it off and have something to eat, and then we'll get back and we'll have a look at it. So the job actually came out really nice. It just had a couple of little nibs in it, a couple of little bits of dust. I didn't show me sanding it. I've done loads of videos on that in the past. I've got loads of other content on that coming out as well. So it didn't need a full flatten polish or anything like that. So I'm just sort of fine tuning it with a couple of little nibs, as I say, that needed to make it look almost perfect. As you can see, good gloss levels, good coverage, not too much orange peel, no dry spots. I've just taken it off my worktop because it tends to rattle a little bit on there. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm in a workshop, but I'm just going to show you that this is actually a really quiet machine. So what do I think? I think that is an absolutely fantastic little compressor. It's managed to keep up with that job that I've just had in. I've got a great finish on it, no orange peel, didn't lose too much pressure, allowed me to carry on painting as I was going around the job, even when I was clear coating. And this thing, it kept up. It just about kept up, which is enough. So as long as you've got the right gun set up, or if you buy one of those LPH 80 guns, you know that this is going to be able to do some basic paint work. So guys, that's the challenge complete, and the answer is yes, you can perform a good professional looking spray job with a small compressor as long as you get the gun set up right and you follow the kind of instructions what I've given in this video. I've left you guys links in the description to the tools that were used in the video that you'll find helpful. That's it for today guys. It was just a short video that I've wanted to do for a while. I know a lot of you guys are DIYers. You might want to push it to the next level. You might want to get some kind of basic spray setup put in place. You might have limited space. It might be in the back of a van. That'd fit perfectly in the back of a van. Or you need it in a cupboard. Or you've got to be doing stuff at home in the garage. You don't want anything too big, too noisy, too cumbersome. Something you can move about and get little paint jobs done, bumper corners, maybe a wing, stuff like that. That is an absolutely cracking option for the price, the build quality, and the results that we just got. I'm very impressed. If you like this content and you enjoyed this video, you found it valuable to watch and entertaining perhaps, then please leave us a comment below, leave us a like, hit that subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.